Hey, what's up guys? This is Ed for me. So it seems like just a day into this build, there's already a buyer for this Briggs & Stratton Raptor 3. So I'm going to be selling it. Gotta take it off. I'm going to keep the clutch and the chain for now. Probably going to go with a Predator 212, tried and true. Everybody knows it works well. I had it on my last go-kart and it was great. So my job right now is to get this off and to bring it to the buyer to sell. I'll take that money and put it towards the Predator. Just to get a good go-kart running, so I don't have to deal with the carbs on this, tuning, things like that. It's probably just a better way to spend my time actually enjoying it rather than to play with the tune and to play with the carbs. I know those can be a little bit tricky. They were always tricky on my motorcycles, and it's no different here. So that's what I'm doing right now. So here's a time lapse. So the motor is held onto the chassis by a bolt that goes through a mounting plate, which then goes to a nut, a locking washer, and a washer. Just 4 of these to take it off. So I'm definitely excited because I already know how proven the Predator is in terms of an engine, and I know that it'll be just like my old one in terms of the engine, which is pretty good because that's exactly how I wanted it. So this one is going to its new owner. I don't have to mess with playing the carbs anymore to make sure that it doesn't sputter, but everything's all set here. So let me show you a little bit about the mounting process. So for the engines, for any engine, usually around 5 horsepower or so, this is the mounting plate, and it wraps around the chassis. 4 bolts go just like so, and you have locking nuts to lock the engine onto the chassis. It's as simple as that. The chain, this is a 35 chain, it wraps around this sprocket. This probably is around 50 something tooth, and the other side goes into this, which is the centrifugal clutch. As you can see, the way it works is that as this is spinning faster, these plates will come out, and they'll basically come into contact with this part, making it one unit. And when that happens, they all turn, and when it's at idle, it'll just be spinning freely so that your engine doesn't die. But once it picks up any speed, it'll start to bring the power out to the sprocket right here. I think this is probably like 14 or 12 or 14 tooth. You guys can count it for me. Alright, so got my new engine here, and these Predator 212cc engines definitely don't need any introduction. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be unboxing it, filling it up with oil, filling it up with gas, and turning it on for the first time, breaking it in for about 3 hours at low idling speed. After that, we'll throw it onto the cart, and we'll see how much more enjoyable the cart is without any carburetor issues. So this is the area where you fill in oil. You can fill it in from the back side or for the front, makes no difference. But if you actually open this up, you can tell that they originally had some oil in there, and for shipping purposes they took it out. So what we're going to be doing is filling it up with 10W30 oil, and you can tell on here where it actually says high, low, and later on when the engine is going to sit on the go-kart, it's going to sit on a slant. But that's why we're going to be putting this essentially to about 3/4 full. Alright, so we're going to take this outside and start it up for the first time. I've been told by many people that these engines like to start on first pull. So all I have to do is make sure that this is on start, turn the fuel on, and make sure that this switch is on position. After that, I would probably make sure you're not running at full speed. And before we actually put it on the go-kart, we'll actually have to do some other modifications to this so that it doesn't stay on the full speed or stay on the slow speed. We'll adjust that stuff later. But first, let's let this run for 3 hours in order for it to break in. It's probably going to be digging itself into the hole, as you can see, but that's okay. We'll just let it sit for a couple of hours, and I'm sure the gas is going to be able to handle a couple of hours of run time. So we're just going to let it run, and I'll be back in 3 hours in order to finish the braking process. So it's just running in on 3 hours right now. As you can see, dug quite a bit of a hole in the original spot that it was in. And I didn't like that the engine block was going all the way into the ground. So what I did was moved it over here. It started to dig itself into a hole. I actually left it over here, and you can actually see the trail that it kind of left walking its way over. So this is pretty good in terms of a break-in. And what I'm going to do now is turn it off. Now we're going to take this guy inside. We're going to clean it up and get it ready to put onto the go-kart. Alright, so after running for a couple of hours, it's definitely picked up a lot of the dust that's outside. Probably honestly wasn't the best spot to put it because it was just kicking up dust and it was probably breathing it back in. But I guess that's what the air filter is for. In hindsight, I would probably bolt it down to like a piece of scrap wood or something so that it doesn't shake around. But let me just wipe this thing down, and then we'll get to the parts of modifying it so that it's ready for go-kart use. Alright, so the first problem with using these engines on a go-kart is that you can actually leave these on at high speed and low speed. High RPM, low RPM. So obviously you don't want that on a go-kart. You want something that automatically pulls back to being in the idle position when you're not on throttle. Alright, so what I've done here is taken off the air box and done a little bit in terms of removing these throttle linkages. And the reason why I'm doing that is for two reasons. One, this is the governor, right? The governor, when you give it throttle, will keep the engine from revving too high. Obviously with a go-kart, it's pay to play. These engines are built relatively well. I haven't seen too many blow up. And at the end of the day, you want your go-kart to go as fast as it possibly can. Of course, when I first ride this go-kart, I'm going to take it easy so that I don't blow the engine right away. I'll let it break in a little bit more. However, I'm essentially not letting this governor be affected and be useful. As you can see, this here is the highest speed and this is the lowest. And originally what it was doing is when you pull this, it would also pull the governor. The governor then would then affect the throttle right here. This is the actual throttle. So what I'm doing is essentially bypassing the throttle. Instead of having it connected to the governor, the throttle is going to be directly connected to the actual throttle. And if you take a look beneath the throttle here, this throttle I mean, there's quite a bit of areas where they leave holes for you to connect linkages to. So what I'm going to do is connect this linkage, shorten it to there, and when I have this properly set up, when I turn this will turn like that, which will open up the throttle. As you can, let's see if, I don't know if you could see, but it opens and closes. Close, open, close, open. So what I have to do is shorten this guy right here, connect it from here to here, and I should have a working throttle. The next thing that I'm going to do after that is to make sure that I have a return spring, a better return spring. This one's not strong enough, obviously. So what I'm going to do there is essentially connect either this to something over here, or that to something on the other side. With this connected here and this connected here, as you can see, they work in unison, bypassing the governor completely. Now what I'm going to have to do with the governor is hold it back so that it never actually governs. And here, I'm just going to have to make sure I add something so that it'll always be putting it back to idle when I'm not on the throttle. And as you can see here, I need to just work on this a little bit so that it stays connected to where it needs to be. So in order to keep myself from putting this thing in complete full throttle when I first break it in, driving it around on a go-kart, I'm going to give it myself a governor of sorts. So as you can see here, this right here will allow you to limit the max RPM that the engine actually runs to. So right now I can run to full throttle. But what I'm going to do is make it so that I can only run to about a half to 3/4, so like right around there. So all I have to do is push this in until it meets it. And that's the max that I'll be able to go. And as you can look in there, it's not completely full throttle. Eventually, when I get a little bit more comfortable that the engine is broken in, I'll just unturn this a little bit and I'll be able to go more full throttle. Right now full throttle is actually about 3/4. Alright, so in order to make this work as a throttle, we're going to actually take one of the springs that are already part of the governor here, and we're going to remove it. So these were the springs that originally came with the engine. I'm just reusing them, one for the governor. I'll just have to attach it to this side, and one for the throttle linkage on this side. After you get the spring out, you just want to swap it to this side over here so that it'll pull this back to the position, back to the start position like that. And the other side we're just going to hook onto this nut over here. So now that this is attached here, if you spin it around, you'll see that it always pops right back to idle. Helps to put a little bit of oil here so that it's a little bit looser, but you do have to loosen this bolt a little bit or else it'll be way too tight. Alright, one more thing that we got to do before putting the engine, mounting it onto the go-kart, is to put on the clutch. So for my particular go-kart, the clutch, the sprocket has to be facing towards the engine. And in order to do that, we have to take this key out first. Once you put the clutch on, all you have to do is line up the key and slide it into the hole. Use a hammer, pop it in there, and as you can see, the key is a little bit too long, so we'll have to take it out and we'll have to cut it a little bit shorter. So after you cut the key a little bit shorter, you just put the clutch back on again, line it up, put the key where it needs to be, and just hammer it in. That's it. Next thing you want to do is put on your bolt so that you could lock it down. Alright, so everything's all set up now. This is the small spring, and as you can see, it holds the governor from doing its job. When you pull this way, that's when the governor starts working, so this spring keeps the governor from working. On the other end, I took the other spring and attached it over here. So now the throttle works exactly like a go-kart throttle should. Underneath the chassis, there are two bolts that actually hold the mounts to the chassis itself, and you're supposed to loosen these guys up. And on top here, you'll be able to see there's an adjustment for the forward and back motion of the go-kart engine. So here, as you can see, it's kind of tight. This is supposed to be spinning freely, so we have to move it back a little bit so there's less tension on this. So I'm going to loosen these bolts up and move it back a little bit. Alright, so after we loosen these up and move the engine back a little bit, as you can see, it spins freely the way it should, but also you don't want too much slack. So what we're going to do is do some micro adjustments here so that it's loose enough so that this spins freely, but it's not loose enough that the chain will actually be able to fall off. Alright, that's just about where I want it. This should not be able to come off. Just tighten everything back up, and next on to the throttle linkage. So nightfall is actually here, and I had a pretty long day. Essentially, the throttle linkage issues and a couple other things came up, and it just basically took me a lot of time in order to get it all sorted out. I was actually able to take the go-kart out to do a test drive. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure what the issue is, but after going, at high speeds and then slowing down, if I come to a complete stop, the engine just continues to bog, and then it will actually stall on me. So if you take a look here, we did the throttle linkage. This is the throttle cable. Hooked up to the foot pedal, obviously. This is what I have going on up top. As you can see, the cable housing is just tightened down there, and then the actual cable goes through this little hole right here. I had some issues with the engine turning on at full speed. Essentially, it turned out to be an idle issue. The idle over here, and not actually the governor. As you can see here, I have the governor tied down so that it actually can't move, and it'll stay in this position where it'll never actually get engaged. I'll try and get some clips of riding this thing around in the morning. We'll actually get to the next project for this go-kart before we move on to electric, and that is actually changing this clutch to, as many of you might expect, a torque converter. So the torque converter is sitting inside my living room right now, and in order to get the torque converter installed, I'm guessing that I'll actually have to move the seat over. So what I'm going to do is move this seat over all the way as much as I can, install a torque converter, and hopefully it'll make this go-kart even more fun to drive. Today, one little thing that happened was I forgot how hot this exhaust gets, and I actually was wearing a tank top, as you can see from the video, and I actually burned my right where my lats are on the right side. So at the end of the day, I really know that I want to go for an electric conversion with this go-kart. I think it'll be so much more fun as an electric go-kart. Couple of reasons why. Number one, this thing is loud. Number two, this thing vibrates a lot. So when you're accelerating in this and you're going at a pretty quick speed, the vibrations transmitting through the engine into the chassis up to your body actually blur your vision. So it's actually a safety concern as well when you're like trying to accelerate down a straight road and all of a sudden it gets really blurry. It should not be like that, and I understand that there's ways to mitigate that. However, doing this conversion again and kind of getting back behind the wheel of a go-kart just brings back the reasons why I sold my first go-kart in the first place, which was because it just didn't seem like I could make use of it at the same time be safe about it. So this go-kart is definitely going to be getting an electric conversion after this project is done with the torque converter. So with the electric conversion, it's obviously going to be quieter, there's going to be more torque, there's going to be no vibrations, which will turn and change this the experience of driving this go-kart completely around. So yeah, if you guys are interested in staying tuned, please be sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video for more go-karting fun.